I sat at my parents' Thanksgiving table, surrounded by the smell of roasted turkey and the sound of laughter, when my father's words changed everything. He raised his glass, grinning wide, and announced they had all voted for Proposition 42, the new tax law, the one that made childless people like me pay 15% more to fund families with kids. Since you don't have kids, you'll pay for ours, Dad said, his eyes twinkling like he had told the funniest joke in the world. It's only fair. My brother Kyle slapped the table. Thanks for the college fund, sis. Everyone laughed. My mother, my sister Amanda. Even the kids giggled, not understanding why. My heart pounded. My hands trembled. I slowly reached into my purse and pulled out my phone. I looked up at their smiling faces and said very calmly, "You're absolutely right. Let me make a call." The laughter died down as I stood up from the table, phone in hand. Nobody seemed to take me seriously. Kyle was still chuckling, reaching for another slice of pie. Amanda was scrolling through her phone, probably posting about our perfect family Thanksgiving on social media. Mom was clearing plates. Dad leaned back in his chair, looking satisfied with himself. But I was done. 6 years of being treated like a walking ATM had just crystallized into this single moment, this single vote, this single statement that I was less valuable because I didn't have children. Let me take you back 6 years. I was 22 years old, fresh out of college with my finance degree, working my first real job at a small investment firm. I had $17,000 saved. Every penny carefully set aside from part-time jobs, summer internships, scholarships I had stretched to cover more than tuition. That money represented freedom. It represented a future. It represented the down payment on my first home. Then Dad called me on a Tuesday afternoon. I remember because I was in a meeting with a client when my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. When I finally checked, there were 14 missed calls. My stomach dropped. I called back immediately. Dad was crying. Actually crying. In 22 years, I had never heard my father cry. The manufacturing plant where he had worked for 30 years was closing. He was 54 years old, no job, no prospects, and the bank had just sent a foreclosure notice. They were 60 days behind on the mortgage. "We're going to lose the house, Chastity," he sobbed. "Your mother and I will have nowhere to go." I didn't think. I just acted. I withdrew my entire savings the next day, $17,000. I handed it to my father in cash, and he hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. "You're saving us, baby girl. You're saving us." But he never said thank you. Not really. He said, "You're young, you'll save again." That was 6 years ago, and I did save again. Sort of. Except every time I managed to put away a few $1,000s, someone in my family needed something. Dad's car broke down. Mom's credit cards were maxed out. Kyle's son needed money for private school because public school wasn't good enough. Amanda's car got repossessed and she needed help with payments. And every single time I helped. Because that's what family does, right? Except nobody ever asked if I could afford it. Nobody ever asked if I needed anything. Nobody ever asked if I was okay. Now, standing in my parents' dining room with everyone staring at me, I dialed a number I knew by heart. "Hello? Bank of America? Yes, this is Chastity Parker. Account number 774392158. Dad's smile faltered. Kyle stopped eating. Amanda looked up from her phone. "I need to remove 3 authorized users from my accounts immediately." "Yes, all of them." Kyle Parker, Amanda Stevens, Linda Parker. Mom's face went pale. "Honey, what are you doing?" I held up one finger. "Yes, effective immediately. Also, I need to cancel the automatic payment to account ending in 4729. I looked directly at Dad. "That's your mortgage account." Dad laughed nervously. "Very funny, Chastity. You're making a scene. And I need to close my line of credit authorization for Frank Parker." "Yes, all of it. The $50,000 limit." Dad stopped laughing. I hung up and immediately dialed another number. "Georgetown Preparatory School?" "Yes. This is Chastity Parker. I need to cancel the tuition payment for next semester. The student's name is Mason Parker." Kyle jumped to his feet. "Wait, what the hell are you doing?" "I'm stopping payment on your son's $30,000 per year private school tuition. The tuition I've been paying for the last 3 years while you drive a $70,000 truck." Kyle's face turned red. You can't just. Can't what, Kyle? Stop paying for your kids' education? Stop funding your lifestyle? You just voted to make me pay more taxes for your children. So now you can actually pay for them yourself. Amanda stood up. Chastity, this is insane. You're overreacting to one comment. I turned to her slowly. One comment? Amanda, last Christmas, your husband asked me in front of everyone when I was getting a real job. A real job. I'm a financial advisor. I manage $43 million in assets. I make six figures. But that's not real to you because I'm not married with kids. I didn't, Amanda started. You laughed, I said quietly. You laughed, Amanda. And Mom, you changed the subject like it was nothing. I picked up my purse. I've been paying Dad's mortgage for 5 years. $2,100 a month. That's $126,000. Kyle, your son's private school for 3 years. $90,000. Amanda, your car payments for 4 years. $28,800. Dad's surgery 2 years ago. $45,000. The family Disney trip last year. $8,000. Mom's credit card debt paid off twice. $32,000. The room was silent. Even the kids had stopped talking. $329,800, I said. That's what I've given this family in 6 years. And not once, not one single time, did anyone say thank you. Not once did anyone ask if I could afford it. Kyle's voice was small. We didn't know it was that much. You didn't ask. You didn't care. You just took. I walked toward the door. Happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy the turkey. I paid for it, by the way, for the last time. As I drove away, I could see them through the window. Still standing. Still frozen. Still not believing I had actually done it. But I had, and I wasn't going back. The morning after Thanksgiving was Black Friday. While everyone else was fighting over discounted televisions and cheap electronics, I was sitting in my small studio apartment, drinking coffee, and feeling lighter than I had in years. The weight I didn't even know I was carrying had lifted from my shoulders. My phone had started ringing at 6 in the morning. I counted 47 missed calls by noon. I didn't answer any of them. Instead, I scrolled through the text messages, reading each one with a strange sense of detachment. Kyle had sent 19 messages. The first few were angry. What the hell is wrong with you? Stop being such a brat. Mom is crying because of you. But as the morning wore on, his tone changed. The later messages were panicked. Please call me back. We need to talk. This is serious. Amanda had sent 12 messages, each one more dramatic than the last. You're tearing this family apart. How can you be so cruel? I hope you're happy. Then, around 11, her messages changed too. Please, we can work this out. Don't do this to us. Mom had sent only 3 messages, but each one was like a knife. How could you embarrass us like that? Your father is devastated. We raised you better than this. And Dad? Dad had sent just one message at 7:43 in the morning. Chastity Marie Parker, call me now. I deleted every message without responding. Instead, I called my lawyer. Ethan Bradford had been my attorney for 2 years. I had met him through work, and he had helped me set up my estate planning and business contracts. He was smart, thorough, and most importantly, he didn't ask questions he didn't need answers to. Ethan, I need you to send legal notices to my family members, specifically my parents and siblings. The notices need to state that all previous financial assistance was given as gifts, not loans, and that no future financial assistance should be expected. There was a pause on the other end. Chastity, are you sure about this? Family law can get messy. I'm sure. I have documentation for everything. Bank statements, canceled checks, transfer receipts. I've been keeping records. Smart. Okay, I'll draft the notices and have them sent via certified mail. Anything else? Yes, I need you to review property deeds, specifically my parents' house. Why? Because I want to make sure my interests are protected. Another pause. I'll look into it. After I hung up with Ethan, my phone rang. It was from a number I didn't recognize. Against my better judgment, I answered. Thank God! Kyle's voice nearly shouted through the speaker. I've been calling you all morning. I know. I saw. My card got declined at Best Buy. In front of like 50 people. Do you know how humiliating that was? That's because it was my credit card with your name on it as an authorized user. I canceled it yesterday. You can't just do that. I was buying Christmas gifts for the kids. With my money, Kyle. You were buying gifts with my money, taking credit for them, and never once acknowledging where the money came from. This is insane. All over one stupid comment at dinner? No, Kyle. This isn't about one comment. This is about 6 years of comments. 6 years of being treated like I exist solely to fund everyone else's life, while mine doesn't matter. We never asked you to pay for stuff. You never asked because you just took. There's a difference. Every time I helped, it was because one of you called in a panic. Every time, it was an emergency. Dad's house, your son's school, Amanda's car, Mom's debt. Always an emergency. Never a thank you. Kyle's voice softened. Look, I'm sorry if we hurt your feelings, okay? Can we please talk about this like adults? We are talking. And here's what you need to know. Are you ready? Yes. I took a breath. The mortgage on Mom and Dad's house. $2,100 per month. I've been paying it for 5 years. That's $126,000, Kyle. Silence. Your son's private school. $30,000 per year for 3 years. That's $90,000. More silence. Amanda's car payment when she couldn't afford it. $600 per month for 4 years. $28,800. Kyle said nothing. Dad's medical bills from his heart surgery. $45,000. The family vacation to Disney World last year that I supposedly contributed to but actually paid for entirely. $8,000. Mom's credit card debt that I paid off not once but twice. $32,000 total. I paused. Should I continue? Kyle's voice cracked. I didn't know it added up to that much. $329,800, Kyle. Over 6 years. And you know what the worst part is? Not once did anyone ask if I could afford it. Not once did anyone say thank you. Not once did anyone treat me like anything other than a convenient source of money. But you make good money. You're a financial advisor. You. I make $78,000 a year, Kyle. That's good money, yes. But it's not infinite money. Do you know why I live in a studio apartment? Because I gave you my house down payment. Do you know why I drive a 10-year-old Honda Civic with 190,000 miles on it? Because I paid for Dad's surgery instead of buying a new car. Do you know why I haven't had a vacation in 4 years? Because I paid for yours. Kyle was crying now. I could hear it in his breathing. Chastity, I'm so sorry. I didn't. We didn't. The mortgage payment is due in 5 days, Kyle. Dad needs to come up with $2,100 plus a $200 late fee because he's already 30 days behind. You all voted for me to pay higher taxes to fund your children. Well, now you get to figure out how to actually take care of them. I hung up. My hands were shaking, but I felt powerful. For the first time in 6 years, I had said no. And it felt incredible. 3 days passed. I went to work, came home, lived my life. It was strange how normal everything felt when I wasn't constantly checking my phone for the next family crisis. I actually had time to cook real meals. I finished a book I had been trying to read for months. I even went to a yoga class on Tuesday evening, but the peace didn't last. On Wednesday afternoon, my mother called from a number I didn't recognize. I made the mistake of answering. Chastity. Mom's voice was shaking. The insurance company called. They said our health insurance policy was canceled. Yes, I was the primary policyholder. You, Dad, Kyle, and Amanda were all on my plan through my company's family coverage option. But your father needs his medication. His heart medication costs $400 a month without insurance. Then he'll need to budget for it, or you can call Kyle and Amanda and ask them to help. How can you be so cruel? I'm your mother. The word cruel hit me like a slap. Cruel? Mom, do you remember last Thanksgiving? What does that have to do with? You introduced me to your book club friends. Do you remember what you said? She was silent. You said, "This is our daughter, Chastity. She helps out the family." Not "this is our daughter, the financial advisor." Not "this is our daughter who we're proud of." Just, "She helps out." I didn't mean anything by that. And Christmas 2 years ago, Kyle's wife Stephanie asked me, in front of everyone at the table, when I was going to get a real job instead of playing with people's money. Do you remember what you did? Chastity, I don't. You laughed, Mom. You laughed and then changed the subject. You didn't defend me. You didn't tell her that managing $43 million in assets is a real job. You just laughed. I didn't want to make things awkward. But you were fine with me being humiliated. Mom started crying. We never meant to hurt you. I know you didn't, but you did. For years. And when I finally stood up for myself, you called me cruel. Your father needs his medication. Then Dad needs to call his insurance company and get his own policy. He's only 60. He can get coverage. It will cost twice as much. Then he'll have to budget for it. Like I have to budget for my own bills. I hung up before she could respond. My chest felt tight. Standing up to my mother was harder than standing up to anyone else. But I couldn't back down. Not now. That evening, Amanda showed up at my apartment. I heard the knock and looked through the peephole. She was alone, which surprised me. I opened the door but didn't invite her in. What do you want, Amanda? Can I come in, please? Against my better judgment, I stepped aside. She walked in and immediately started pacing. She looked terrible. Her hair was unwashed, her eyes were red and swollen, and she was wearing sweatpants and an oversized hoodie. This was not the perfectly put-together Amanda who always looked like she had just stepped out of a salon. Georgetown Prep called Kyle, she said without preamble. Mason's tuition check bounced. I didn't send a check. There's nothing to bounce. They're threatening to unenroll him mid-semester. Do you know how humiliating that is? How damaging that will be to his academic record. Then Kyle needs to pay the tuition himself. He can't afford it. That's why you were helping. Exactly, Amanda. He can't afford it. So maybe Mason should go to public school like 90% of American children. Public school? Are you insane? Do you know what that would do to his college applications? I went to public school. I got into a good college. I have a successful career. That's different. How is it different? Because, Amanda struggled to find words. Because Mason deserves better. Better than what I had? Is that what you're saying? Amanda stopped pacing. Her face crumpled. No, that's not what I meant. But it's what you said. Just like you've been saying for years that my life doesn't matter as much because I don't have kids. Just like you told your friends last summer that I was selfish for not wanting children. You heard that? I was standing right there, Amanda. You said it to Carol Mitchell while I was getting us drinks. You said, I feel bad for Chastity. She's so focused on her career that she doesn't understand what real fulfillment is. Real fulfillment. Like my life is empty because it looks different from yours. Amanda sat down on my small couch and put her head in her hands. I didn't mean it like that. How did you mean it? I don't know. Sometimes I'm jealous, okay? You have freedom. You can do whatever you want. You don't have to worry about kids and schedules and tantrums. And sometimes I say stupid things because I'm jealous. This was the most honest Amanda had been with me in years. I sat down across from her. Amanda, I would have understood if you had talked to me. If you had said you were struggling or stressed. But instead, you treated me like I was less than you, because I made different choices. I know, and I'm sorry. Your apology doesn't fix 6 years of disrespect. She looked up at me, mascara running down her face. What do you want me to do? I want you to figure out your own life. I want you to call Kyle and ask him to pay his own son's tuition. I want you to get a job and pay your own bills. I want you to stop expecting me to fund your lifestyle. I have a job. You work part-time at a boutique 3 days a week. That's not a job. That's a hobby that makes you feel productive. Amanda flinched. That's not fair. Neither is expecting me to subsidize your life while you judge mine. She stood up. Georgetown Prep gave Kyle until Friday to pay. That's 3 days. If he doesn't pay, Mason gets expelled. Then Kyle better figure something out. You're really not going to help? No, Amanda, I'm really not. She walked to the door, then turned back. You know what? You were right. At dinner, we did treat you like an ATM. And I'm sorry, but I never thought you'd actually cut us off. I thought family meant more than money to you. Family should mean more than money. But for the last 6 years, money was the only thing I was good for. So, you tell me, Amanda, what does family actually mean to you? She left without answering. That night, my father showed up, not at my door, but at my office. I was working late, preparing for a client meeting the next day, when security called to say Frank Parker was in the lobby asking to see me. I told them to send him up. Dad looked older than I remembered. It had only been a few days, but he seemed to have aged years. His shoulders were slumped, His face was gray, and he walked slowly, like each step hurt. "Can we talk?" he asked quietly. I gestured to the chair across from my desk. He sat down heavily. "I went to the bank today," he said. "They told me the mortgage is 60 days past due." I frowned. "How is it 60 days past due? I only stopped paying 3 days ago." Dad looked down at his hands. He couldn't meet my eyes. Understanding dawned on me like cold water. "You haven't been paying your part at all, have you?" Silence. "Dad, answer me. Have you been making any payments on your own house?" "We thought," he started, then stopped. "We thought you had it covered." "You thought I had it covered." I repeated the words slowly, trying to process them. "Dad, it's your house." "I know. When you called me 6 years ago, you said you were behind on payments because you lost your job. I gave you $17,000 to catch up. You said you would make the regular payments. You promised." I tried. "You tried?" "Dad, have you been making any payments at all?" He finally looked up at me. His eyes were red. "Not for the last 4 years." I felt like the floor had dropped out from under me. 4 years? You haven't paid your mortgage in 4 years? You were handling it. I didn't think it mattered. It mattered. Dad, I've been paying $2,100 every single month thinking I was helping you temporarily while you got back on your feet. I thought you were paying too. I thought we were both contributing. But you've been paying nothing? I got a job 2 years after I was laid off. I know. I helped you write your resume. Where has your money been going? Dad looked away again. Living expenses. The truck. Vacations. Vacations? Dad, I haven't had a vacation in 4 years because I've been paying your mortgage while you went on vacations? I didn't think about it that way. I stood up. I couldn't sit anymore. "Do you know what I was saving for when you called me that day 6 years ago?" He shook his head. "A house. I had $17,000 saved for a down payment on my first house. I was 22 years old and I had saved every penny I could. I was so proud of myself. And then you called, crying, saying you were going to lose your home. So I gave you everything I had. Everything." Dad's voice was barely a whisper. "I didn't know. I told you. I specifically told you I was saving for a house, and you said, 'You're young, you'll save again.' Well, guess what, Dad? I'm 28 now. 6 years later, and I still live in a studio apartment because I spent the last 6 years paying for your life instead of building my own. I'll fix this. I'll get a second job. The bank will foreclose in 30 days if you don't pay. That's $2,400 to catch up, plus late fees. Probably closer to $3,000 total." Dad's face went pale. "Where am I supposed to get $3,000? "I don't know, Dad. Maybe sell something, maybe ask Kyle to help, maybe get a loan, maybe call the people you voted to give tax breaks to. But don't ask me. I'm your father." "Yes, and I'm your daughter, not your retirement plan, not your emergency fund. Your daughter." Dad stood up slowly. "I'm sorry, Chastity. I'm sorry I let you down." "You didn't let me down, Dad. You used me. There's a difference." He walked to the door, then stopped. "What happened to you? You used to be so generous, so kind." His words felt like a punch. "I'm still kind, Dad. I'm just not a doormat anymore. And if you can't tell the difference, that says more about you than it does about me." After he left, I sat in my office for a long time, staring at my computer screen without seeing it. This was harder than I thought it would be. Standing up for myself felt right, but it also felt awful, like I was tearing my family apart. But then I remembered their laughter at Thanksgiving dinner, their casual cruelty, their assumption that I owed them my money, my time, my life. And I knew I was doing the right thing. A week went by. 7 days of silence from my family. 7 days of peace. 7 days of guilt that sat in my stomach like a stone. Then, on a Tuesday morning, Kyle called. Not from his phone, not from Stephanie's phone, but from a number I didn't recognize. I should have let it go to voicemail, but curiosity got the better of me. "What do you want, Kyle?" "I got written up at work yesterday." His voice sounded hollow. "I'm sorry to hear that. But what does that have to do with me? My truck got repossessed Friday night, right out of the driveway while we were sleeping. Stephanie woke up and it was just gone." I felt a flash of satisfaction, then immediate guilt for feeling it. "Kyle, I still don't understand what this has to do with me. I can't get to work without it. I work 45 minutes from home. There's no public transportation. I've been borrowing Stephanie's car, but she needs it for her job too. My boss said if I'm late again, I'm fired. Then you need to figure out your transportation situation. How did the truck even get repossessed? I was making payments. The question hung in the air. I waited for him to realize. Oh my God. His voice dropped to a whisper. I was using your credit card for the payments. Finally, he gets it. Chastity, You were paying a $70,000 truck payment with my credit card. How long, Kyle? I don't. How long? 2 years. He sounded defeated. I had to sit down. I was in my kitchen making coffee, but suddenly my legs wouldn't hold me. 2 years. You financed a $70,000 truck, and you've been making the monthly payments with my credit card for 2 years. I was going to pay you back. With what money? You make $65,000 a year. Your wife makes $40,000. That's $105,000 household income. Where does it all go? Kids are expensive. Mason's activities, the girls' dance lessons, clothes, food. So expensive that you need a $70,000 truck? I needed a vehicle for work. You needed a vehicle, not a luxury truck with leather seats and a premium sound system. You could have bought a reliable used car for $15,000, but you wanted to look successful, didn't you? You wanted people to think you were doing well, and you did it with my money. Kyle was crying now. I could hear him trying to hold it back, but failing. I don't know what to do. If I lose my job, we'll lose the house. We're barely making the mortgage as it is. Then you better figure it out quickly. Maybe sell Stephanie's car and buy 2 cheaper vehicles. Maybe pick up a second job. Maybe stop spending money you don't have. You're my sister. How can you be so cold? I'm not cold, Kyle. I'm just not your solution anymore. You created this problem. You fix it. I hung up before he could respond. My coffee was getting cold, but I couldn't bring myself to care. I felt sick, not because of what I was doing, but because I was realizing just how deep the manipulation went. Kyle hadn't just accepted my help. He had structured his entire life around it, making financial decisions, assuming I would always be there to catch him. That afternoon, Amanda showed up again. This time, she looked even worse. Her face was pale, her hands were shaking, and she practically fell into my apartment when I opened the door. "Sit down," I said, alarmed. "Are you okay?" "No." She sat on my couch and put her head in her hands. "I got fired yesterday." "What? Why?" "I've been missing too much work. The kids keep getting sick, and without insurance, I can't take them to the doctor. The urgent care is $300 just to walk in the door. So I keep them home and hope they get better. But Emma's been sick for 2 weeks now, and I've missed 8 days of work in the last month." "Where's Brandon?" Amanda laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Brandon moved out last week. He's staying with his brother. He said he's tired of my family's drama. He said he's tired of me expecting everyone else to solve our problems." "Amanda, I'm sorry." "Are you? Because this is what you wanted, isn't it? You wanted us to suffer." "No." I sat down next to her. "I wanted you to respect me. That's not the same thing. Emma has a fever again. It's been 3 days. The school nurse called and said I need to take her to a doctor. But I don't have insurance. I don't have money. And I don't have a husband anymore because of all this." I felt my resolve wavering. Take her to the emergency room. And pay what? The last time we went to the ER, the bill was $3,200. I still haven't paid it off. What about your savings? Amanda looked at me like I had grown a second head. What savings? You think I have savings? You went to Turks and Caicos last year. You post pictures of new clothes every week. You got Botox 3 months ago. I paid for the trip on credit cards. After you paid off my cards last year, I used them again. I figured you'd help me pay them off again. I stood up. So you paid off debt with more debt, using my money to free up credit for vacations you couldn't afford? I needed a break. Do you know how hard it is being a mom? Being constantly needed, constantly tired, constantly stressed? No, Amanda, I don't. And according to you all, that makes me selfish and empty and less valuable as a human being. I never said that. Yes, you did. Last summer, at Carol's barbecue. You told her and 3 other women that I was selfish for not wanting kids, that I didn't understand what real purpose was. Amanda's face crumpled. I was drunk. Drunk words are sober thoughts. My daughter is sick, Chastity. Can you please just help me this one time? No. She's 7 years old. She didn't do anything to you. And that's exactly why Brandon is right. You expect everyone else to solve your problems. Take Emma to the ER. They have to treat her. Then apply for Medicaid. Get a new job. Figure it out. I hate you. Amanda's voice was quiet but venomous. I really, truly hate you right now. I know, but at least you're being honest about how you feel. That's more than you've been in years. She left, slamming the door so hard a picture fell off my wall. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Emma, 7 years old with a fever that wouldn't break. I thought about calling Amanda, about offering to pay for one doctor visit. Just one, but I didn't, because if I helped once, it would open the door again. It would teach them that if they pushed hard enough, if they made me feel guilty enough, I would cave. So I didn't call, and I felt like the worst person in the world. On Thursday, they all showed up. All of them. Mom, Dad, Kyle, Amanda, even the kids. They were standing outside my apartment building when I got home from work. Stephanie was there too, holding her youngest daughter. They looked like refugees, huddled together against the cold December wind. We need to talk, Dad said. All of us. Please. I looked at them. Really looked at them. Mom had been crying. Dad looked 10 years older than he had the week before. Kyle's eyes were hollow. Amanda was shaking. And the kids looked confused and scared. Come in, I said. But the kids stay in the lobby with the doorman. This conversation is for adults only. Once the 5 of us were crammed into my tiny studio apartment, the tension was suffocating. Nobody wanted to speak first. Finally, Mom broke the silence. We've talked, she said quietly. And we realize we may have taken you for granted. May have? Kyle jumped in. Okay, we did. We absolutely did. We're sorry. We're really, truly sorry. Can you please help us? Just one more time? I looked at each of them. Just one more time. Like the last 200 times? Amanda spoke up. We're family. You can't just abandon us. Something inside me snapped. All the guilt, all the doubt, all the pain of the last week exploded out of me. Abandon you? Abandon you? My voice was louder than I intended. I've been carrying all of you for 6 years. When did you ever not abandon me? I walked to my desk and grabbed my laptop. Sit down, all of you. I'm going to show you something. I opened my laptop and pulled up a spreadsheet I had been keeping for 4 years. A detailed record of every dollar I had given them. I connected my laptop to my TV and pulled up the file. This is every dollar I've given this family. Every single dollar. The number at the bottom of the spreadsheet glowed on the screen. $329,800. Mom gasped. Kyle went pale. Amanda started crying. Dad just stared. This is my salary history. I clicked to the next sheet. $78,000 a year. This is what I should have in savings. Another click. $212,000. And this is what I actually have. Click. $17,300. I pulled up another file. This is the house I could have bought 3 years ago. 3-bedroom, 2-bath, nice neighborhood. I lost the bid because I couldn't come up with the down payment. Do you know why? Because I was paying Dad's mortgage and Kyle's son's tuition. Another file. This is the engagement ring my ex-boyfriend wanted to buy me. 5 years ago, he asked me to marry him. I said yes. Then he found out how much money I was giving you all every month, and he asked me to choose, him or you. Mom's hand flew to her mouth. You were engaged? For 6 weeks. Then he left because he said he couldn't marry someone who would always put her family before their future together. And I chose you. I let him go because I thought family was more important. I pulled up one more file. This is a text message from last Thanksgiving. Kyle, this is from your wife. I read it out loud. Your sister is so pathetic. No man, no kids, just money. At least she's useful for something. Kyle's voice was barely a whisper. I didn't. You laughed, Kyle. You showed me the text because you thought it was funny. You laughed at me being called pathetic and useful only for money. I closed the laptop. Get out. All of you, get out of my apartment right now. Chastity, please, Dad begged. We're sorry. We'll do anything. Anything except respect me. Anything except appreciate me. Anything except actually change. We'll change! I promise. Mom was crying now. Please, baby. Please don't do this. You don't get to call me baby. You lost that right when you laughed at me being called pathetic. They left slowly, one by one. Amanda was the last to go. She stood in my doorway and looked at me with something like understanding. You were right, she said quietly. About all of it, and I'm sorry. Then she left, and I was alone again. I slid down to the floor and cried for the first time since Thanksgiving. 2 weeks passed. December 20th arrived with the kind of cold that makes your bones ache. Christmas was 5 days away, and I had heard nothing from my family. I told myself I was relieved. I told myself this silence was what I wanted. I was lying to myself. Then, on the morning of December 20th, my phone rang. It was Sarah Bradford, an old friend of my father's. She had known me since I was a child. Her kids had gone to school with Kyle and Amanda. Chastity, honey, I hope you don't mind me calling. Of course not, Sarah. How are you? I'm fine, dear. But I wanted to ask you something. Your father came by yesterday asking to borrow money. Is everything all right? My stomach dropped. He came to you? Yes. He said he needed $3,000 for unexpected expenses. But Chastity, someone called me last week. A woman. She didn't give her name. She told me I should know about your family's financial situation before lending them any money. She knew details. About credit cards maxed out, unpaid debts, financial dependency. I smiled despite myself. My lawyer, Ethan, had done exactly what I asked him to do. Sarah, I appreciate you calling me. Yes, my family is going through some financial difficulties. And no, I wouldn't lend them money if I were you. I figured as much. Your father always was better at spending than saving. Is there anything I can do for you, honey? Just don't lend them money. Let them figure this out on their own. After I hung up, I felt a mixture of satisfaction and guilt. I had systematically cut off every avenue my family had for external help. They were truly on their own now. The next day, Kyle called. Not from a borrowed phone this time, but from his own. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. What now, Kyle? I can't sell the house. His voice was flat, emotionless. What do you mean you can't sell it? Dad tried to put the house on the market, to downsize, get some cash to catch up on bills. But the title company found a problem. What kind of problem? You're listed as a co-owner. Have been for 4 years apparently. Dad can't sell without your signature. I couldn't help but smile. That's right. When did this happen? 4 years ago. When I had paid off 60% of the mortgage. My lawyer advised me to protect my investment. So we had papers drawn up adding me to the deed. I gave Dad copies of everything. He signed them. He said you told him it was refinancing paperwork. No, I told him it was paperwork related to the mortgage payoff. He didn't read it. That's not my fault. Kyle's voice rose. So you tricked him? I protected myself. There's a difference. And before you get on your high horse, Kyle, every document was legal and legitimate. I didn't forge anything. I didn't lie about anything. I just didn't explain it in terms a child could understand because your father is not a child. So we can't sell the house? We're just supposed to lose it to foreclosure? That's not my problem. You really have changed, Chastity. The sister I knew would never be this cruel. The sister you knew was a doormat who let you walk all over her for 6 years. Maybe you should consider that you never really knew me at all. He hung up without saying goodbye. Later that day, Amanda called. Her voice was different, smaller, scared. Chastity, I need to tell you something. What? Brandon filed for divorce. His lawyer sent the papers yesterday. He's asking for full custody. I felt my chest tighten. What? Why? He says I'm an unfit mother. He says I can't provide a stable home environment. He's citing the missed doctor appointments, the job loss, the financial instability. Amanda, I'm so sorry. Emma's been having seizures. Real ones. Chastity. Not just fevers. The school called an ambulance 3 days ago. They took her to the hospital. She's been having focal seizures caused by a small lesion on her brain. I felt the blood drain from my face. Is she okay? She needs to see a specialist, a pediatric neurologist. They can treat it, maybe even cure it with medication or a minor procedure. But I can't afford it. I applied for emergency Medicaid, but it takes weeks to process. The seizures are getting worse. Where is she now? Still in the hospital. They're monitoring her. But Chastity, The bill is already at $47,000. I don't have insurance. I don't have money. Brandon won't help because he says this is my family's fault. And he's right. This is my fault. All of it. I sat down. Bring me her medical records tomorrow. All of them. What? Bring me everything. The diagnosis, the treatment plan, the bills, everything. I'll look at it. Does that mean you'll help? It means I'll look at it. That's all I'm promising. Amanda's voice broke. Thank you. Thank you so much. After she hung up, I stared at my phone for a long time. A 7-year-old girl was having seizures because her mother couldn't afford medical care. That wasn't Emma's fault. That was the adults' fault. All of us. I called Ethan. I need you to look into medical care options, payment plans, charity care programs, anything that might help a child access neurological treatment. This is for your niece? Yes. Chastity, I have to ask. Are you sure about this? After everything? A child is sick, Ethan. Whatever anger I have at my family, Emma doesn't deserve to suffer because of it. All right, I'll make some calls. On December 23rd, just 2 days before Christmas, I learned the full extent of the collapse. Dad called from yet another unknown number. When I answered, I could hear chaos in the background. Voices, crying, crashes. Chastity, we have to be out of the house in 48 hours. The foreclosure went through? Yes. The sheriff posted the notice this morning. Eviction on December 25th, Christmas Day. I felt nothing, just numbness. Where will you go? I don't know. Kyle lost his house too. He can't make the mortgage without his job, and he lost his job because he couldn't get to work. Amanda is living with us, but now we're all being evicted. We have nowhere to go. What about Kyle and Amanda's spouses? Stephanie took the kids and moved in with her parents. She filed for separation. Brandon won't even return Amanda's calls. So it's just the 4 of you? And the kids that Stephanie left behind. 2 of Kyle's daughters. She took the baby but said she can't handle all 3 right now. I closed my eyes. Let me make some calls. I'll see what I can do. Does this mean you'll help us? It means I'll make some calls. Don't read more into it than that. I hung up and sat in silence for several minutes. Then I called Ethan again. I need you to draft another contract. Terms of conditional assistance. I'll send you the details in an hour. Chastity, are you sure? No, but I'm doing it anyway. On Christmas Eve, I drove to my parents' house. The house I had paid for. The house they were losing. I pulled up to see moving boxes stacked on the lawn. The driveway was full of vehicles. Kyle's borrowed car, Amanda's old sedan, a rental truck half-loaded. I walked in without knocking. The house was chaos. Boxes everywhere. Trash bags full of belongings. The kids were crying. Mom was sitting on the stairs, staring at nothing. Dad was in the kitchen, packing dishes with shaking hands. Kyle was in the garage, looking defeated. Amanda was in what used to be her old bedroom, sorting through clothes. They all stopped when they saw me. We need to talk, I said. All of you. Now. They gathered in the living room, the same living room where we had eaten Thanksgiving dinner exactly 4 weeks ago. It felt like a lifetime had passed since then. I stood in front of them, my back to the fireplace. They sat on the couch and chairs, looking at me with a mixture of hope and fear. The kids had been sent to play in another room, though I could hear them arguing over toys. Before I say anything else, I need you to understand something. I looked at each of them in turn. This isn't about money. It never was about money. Dad started to speak, but I held up my hand. Let me finish. I pulled out my phone and opened my photos. I had been dreading this moment, but I knew it was necessary. Do you remember when I graduated from college? I asked, showing them a picture on my phone. It was me in my cap and gown, standing with 3 friends. No family, just friends. I was valedictorian. I had a 4.0 grade point average. I got a full ride scholarship and still worked 2 jobs to save money. I graduated summa cum laude, and none of you came to my graduation. Mom's voice was small. Kyle had a soccer tournament. Mason's soccer tournament. Your grandson's under-12 soccer game was more important than your daughter's college graduation. I swiped to the next photo. This is me at my company's award ceremony 3 years ago. I was named Financial Advisor of the Year. I beat out 200 other candidates. It was the proudest moment of my professional life. In the photo, I stood alone on a stage, holding a plaque. I invited all of you. Mom, you had book club. Amanda, you had a hair appointment. Kyle, you were too tired. Dad, you said you had to watch the game. Silence. Heavy, suffocating silence. I told myself it was okay. I told myself you were busy, that adult lives are complicated, that I should understand. I swiped to another photo. But then this happened. The photo showed me in a hospital bed, pale and hooked up to IVs. I was alone. No flowers. No visitors. Just me and medical equipment. 3 years ago, I had emergency appendicitis. I was rushed to the hospital at 2 in the morning. I called all of you from the ambulance. I looked at Mom. You came once. For 30 minutes. You said you had to get back because Amanda needed you to babysit so she could get her hair done. Mom's face crumpled. Oh my God. I was in the hospital for 4 days. 4 days alone. Do you know who visited me? Ethan, my lawyer. Sarah, Dad's friend who I barely knew. My coworker Jennifer. But not one member of my own family stayed for more than an hour. Dad stood up, looking shattered. I didn't. I forgot. Chastity, I completely forgot you were in the hospital. I know you forgot. Because I didn't matter. I only mattered when you needed something. I put my phone away and pulled out a folder I had brought with me. This is a contract. If you want my help, you'll sign it. Kyle took the folder and opened it. His eyes scanned the pages, growing wider with each line. This is a loan agreement for $329,800 at 3% interest over 15 years. That's right. Every dollar I gave you, you'll pay back. The interest rate is lower than any bank would give you, and the term is generous. But you will pay it back. Amanda's voice was shaky. That's almost $2,200 a month for 15 years. Split 4 ways. It's $550 per person. I think that's fair, given that I've been paying your bills for 6 years. What else? Kyle asked, still reading. You'll each post a public apology on Facebook, explaining how you treated me and acknowledging what you did wrong. Mom looked horrified. Public? Everyone will know. Everyone should know, because maybe it will prevent other families from treating their daughters this way. Kyle kept reading. Family therapy. Once a week for a year. Yes. We're going to actually deal with the dysfunction in this family, instead of pretending it doesn't exist. Amanda looked up. What about Emma? Her medical bills. Emma's medical bills will be paid in full by me, but as a gift, not a loan. She's 7 years old. She didn't do any of this. She deserves treatment regardless of the mistakes her family made. Amanda burst into tears. Thank you. Thank you so much. But, I continued, the rest of you need to figure out your own lives. Kyle, you're going to sell that truck you can't afford. Oh wait, it already got repossessed. Good. Buy a used car for $5,000. Get a second job if you have to. Stop trying to look wealthy when you're not. Kyle nodded, looking ashamed. Amanda, you're going to get a full-time job. Any job. I don't care if it's retail or food service or data entry. You're going to work 40 hours a week and contribute to your own life. I will. And you two, I looked at my parents, are going to downsize. This house is too big and too expensive. You're going to find a smaller place, something you can actually afford on your retirement and Dad's Social Security. I'll help with the security deposit, but that's it. Dad's voice was hoarse. And if we agree to all of this, I'll pay enough to stop the foreclosure process. Just barely enough to get you out of immediate danger. You'll have 30 days to find a new place and move. But after that, you're on your own for monthly bills. And if we don't agree, then you're on your own anyway. But at least this way, you have a chance. They looked at each other. Some unspoken conversation happened between them. Finally, Frank picked up a pen from the coffee table. Where do I sign? One by one, they signed. Mom cried the whole time. Kyle's hand shook so badly he could barely write. Amanda signed quickly, desperately. Dad signed last, his signature shaky but legible. After they finished, I pulled out my phone and called my bank. Yes, this is Chastity Parker. I need to make a wire transfer. The amount is $8,750. It was exactly enough to stop the foreclosure and pay the immediate late fees, not a dollar more. Also, I need to set up a direct payment to County General Hospital, patient name Emma Stevens. I'll send over the account details. The amount is $47,000, Amanda sobbed. Thank you. Thank you so much. Don't thank me. Thank Emma for being innocent in all this. If she were an adult who had participated in treating me badly, I wouldn't help. After I hung up, I looked at them one more time. You have 2 weeks to find a new place. I'll help you move, but only because of the kids. After that, I expect to see your first loan payment on the 15th of every month. If you miss a payment, the entire balance becomes due immediately. We understand, Dad said quietly. And one more thing, I walked to the door, then turned back. Christmas dinner tomorrow. My apartment. 6 o'clock. Bring nothing but yourselves and the kids. We're going to start over. But this time, we're going to do it right. I left before anyone could respond. Christmas Day was nothing like the elaborate celebrations my family usually had. There was no massive house with a 12-foot tree. There were no mountains of expensive presents. There was no catered meal with every dish perfectly prepared. Instead, 7 people crammed into my small studio apartment. I had cooked a simple meal. Roast chicken instead of turkey, mashed potatoes, green beans, rolls from the grocery store bakery. It was modest, humble, real. The kids were surprisingly happy. Emma was there, released from the hospital just that morning with a prescription and a follow-up appointment scheduled. She looked tired, but smiled when she saw me. Aunt Chastity. She ran to me and hugged my legs. Your apartment is so cozy. I smiled down at her. Thank you, sweetie. I'm glad you like it. Mason, Kyle's 13-year-old son, approached me more cautiously. Can I ask you something? Of course. Why did you help us? After everything they did? It was a fair question. An adult question from a boy forced to grow up too fast. Because I love you all, I said honestly. But love doesn't mean letting people hurt you. Sometimes love means teaching people to be better. Sometimes you have to let people fall so they can learn to stand on their own. Mason thought about this. My dad said you were being mean, but I don't think you were. I think you were being brave. I felt tears prick my eyes. Thank you, Mason. That means a lot. Dinner was quiet at first. Nobody knew quite what to say. The weight of the last month hung over us like a cloud. But slowly, gradually, people started talking. The kids told stories about school. Amanda mentioned a job interview she had next week. Kyle talked about the used Honda Civic he had found for $4,000. After dinner, Dad stood up. He looked nervous, fidgeting with his napkin. I want to say something. He cleared his throat. Last month, I made the biggest mistake of my life. I voted for a law that hurt my daughter. But that wasn't even the worst part. The worst part was that I spent years treating her like she owed us something. Like her only value was what she could give us. He looked at me, tears streaming down his face. You didn't owe us anything, Chastity. We owed you. We owed you respect and appreciation and real love. Not love with conditions. Not love that only existed when we needed something. Real, unconditional love. Kyle stood up next. Chastity taught us that family isn't about taking. She taught us that love has to go both ways. She taught us that saying no doesn't make you selfish. It makes you strong enough to stand up for yourself. Amanda was crying openly now. She taught us that the quietest person in the room might be carrying the heaviest burden. She taught us to look beyond our own needs and see the people we're hurting. Mom stood, her voice shaking. And she taught us that you can't put a price on dignity. She taught us that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is set boundaries. She taught us that we failed her, and we need to spend the rest of our lives making it right. Mason stood up too, surprising everyone. Aunt Chastity taught me that money isn't the most valuable thing you can give someone. Teaching them to stand on their own is way more important. She taught me that being generous is good, but being strong is better. Emma, not understanding what was happening but wanting to participate, stood on her chair. I love Aunt Chastity. She saved my life. I couldn't hold back the tears anymore. I walked over to Emma and picked her up, holding her tight. I love you too, sweetheart. The evening ended with hugs. Real hugs. The kind that meant something. As everyone was leaving, Dad pulled me aside. I know I don't deserve to ask this, but will you come visit us after we move? Will you be part of our lives again? Yes, I said, but on different terms. With boundaries, with respect. That's all I can ask for. 3 months later, things were different. Not perfect, but different. Mom and Dad had moved into a small 2-bedroom apartment 15 minutes from my place. It was modest but comfortable. They seemed happier there, actually. Less stress about maintaining a huge house they couldn't afford. Kyle had gotten a new job closer to home. He drove his used Honda and worked overtime when he could. Stephanie had agreed to couples counseling, and they were slowly rebuilding their relationship. Mason had enrolled in public school and was thriving, making honor roll for the first time in years. Amanda was working full-time at a bank as a customer service representative. It wasn't glamorous, but it was honest work with benefits. Emma's seizures were under control with medication. Brandon had dropped the custody suit after seeing how much Amanda had changed. And me? I had started dating someone. A kind, thoughtful man named David who worked as a teacher. He knew about my family situation. He knew about the boundaries I had set, and he respected them. He respected me. On the first Tuesday of every month, we all met at a therapist's office. Family therapy was hard. We talked about painful things. We cried. We argued. But we were healing. On the 15th of every month, I received 4 payments of $550 each, $2,200 total. It wasn't much compared to what I had given them, but it was something. It was acknowledgement. It was respect. 1 year after that terrible Thanksgiving dinner, we gathered again, this time at Mom and Dad's small apartment. The dinner was potluck. Everyone brought something. There were no expensive gifts. The kids had made cards and drawings instead. But there was laughter. Real laughter. And love. Real love. After dinner, Dad raised his glass. I want to make a toast to Chastity, the daughter who loved us enough to let us fall, the daughter who taught us what strength really means, the daughter who saved this family by refusing to save us. Everyone raised their glasses to Chastity. I smiled, feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. As I drove home that night, I thought about the journey, about how saying no had been the hardest and best thing I had ever done, about how love without boundaries isn't really love at all, about how sometimes you have to break something completely before you can rebuild it stronger. I thought about the girl I had been a year ago, exhausted, unappreciated, invisible, and I thought about the woman I was now, strong, respected, free. For the first time in 6 years, I had money in my savings account. Not a lot, but it was mine. I had started looking at houses again, real houses that I could afford, houses for my future. I thought about Emma, healthy and happy, her seizures under control. I thought about Mason, confident and proud of his public school achievements. I thought about my siblings, working hard and standing on their own feet for the first time in years. I thought about my parents, learning to live within their means and finding contentment in simplicity. And I thought about myself, about the lessons I had learned, that setting boundaries isn't selfish, that saying no is an act of self-respect, that you can love your family without sacrificing yourself, that sometimes the kindest thing you can do is let people face the consequences of their actions. I pulled into my parking spot and looked up at my building, my small, modest, perfect apartment, and I smiled. Because I had learned the most important lesson of all. You can't pour from an empty cup. You can't help others if you destroy yourself in the process. And you can't build a healthy family on a foundation of resentment and exploitation. I had saved my family by refusing to save them, and in doing so, I had saved myself. So let me ask you something. Have you ever felt invisible in your own family? Have you ever given so much that there was nothing left of yourself? Have you ever had to choose between being kind and being respected? If this story resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever had to set difficult boundaries with family? How did it turn out? Your stories might help someone else who's struggling with the same decision. If you found value in this story, please consider liking this video. It helps others who need to hear this message find it. And if you want to hear more stories about finding strength in difficult family situations, about setting boundaries, about choosing yourself without guilt, please subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it. Maybe it's a friend who gives too much. Maybe it's a sister who's struggling to say no. Maybe it's someone who needs permission to put themselves first for once. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being here. Thank you for understanding that sometimes the hardest act of love is letting go. I wish you strength in your own boundaries. I wish you families who respect you. I wish you the courage to choose yourself when you need to. and I wish you peace in whatever decisions you have to make. Remember, you are not selfish for having limits. You are not cruel for saying no. You are not obligated to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. Take care of yourselves. And remember, the people who truly love you will respect your boundaries. The ones who don't weren't loving you properly in the first place. Until next time, stay strong, stay true to yourself, and never apologize for protecting your peace.